What is this joy humans keep talking about? Part 5. The report that they came for Prince Vorath to leave Earth. His ship stood ready at the same landing area where he had first arrived. It was early morning, and the sky was gray with clouds. A small group of humans had gathered to say goodbye. Government officials, scientists, and of course, Una. Vorath wore his formal Kelani uniform, black with silver symbols on the chest. But underneath his collar, hidden from view, was the purple scarf. He had not taken it off since Christmas morning. He would not take it off for the journey home either. Una walked with him toward the ship. Her eyes were red, and Vorath knew she had been crying. But she was also smiling. Humans were strange that way. They could feel sad and happy at the same time. "Will you come back?" she asked. "I do not know," Vorath said honestly. "It depends on what the High Council decides. If they choose conquest, I will be sent to lead the military fleet. If they choose alliance, I will be sent as an ambassador. And if they choose to ignore us, to leave Earth alone?" Vorath looked at her. "Then I will find a way to come back anyway. Some things are more important than orders." Una laughed softly. "That does not sound like the logical Kelani prince I met a week ago. I am not the same person I was a week ago." They stood at the base of the ship. The other humans kept their distance, giving them privacy. Una reached out and took Vorath's hand. Her fingers were small and warm against his long blue ones. "Thank you," she said, "for opening your heart to us, for letting yourself feel. I know it was not easy." Vorath looked down at their joined hands. Such a simple thing. On Kelani, it would mean nothing. Here, it meant everything. "Thank you," he said, "for teaching me what I did not know I was missing. I will not forget. I will never forget." He squeezed her hand gently, then released it. He turned and walked up the ramp into his ship. At the top, he looked back one last time. Una was still standing there, one hand raised in farewell. Behind her, the City of Souls sparkled with lights, even in the morning. Vorath raised his own hand, then stepped inside. The door closed behind him. The journey back to Kelani took 3 weeks. Vorath spent most of that time alone in his quarters, thinking. He looked at the purple scarf often. He held the small memory crystal that Una had given back to him, now containing her own memories as a gift in return. He watched her memories play out in his mind. Her childhood in Seoul, her grandmother teaching her to cook, her first day of school, her dreams of meeting beings from other worlds. He understood now why humans valued these things. Memories were not just data. They were pieces of a life. They were the things that made a person who they were. When his ship finally arrived at the Kelani homeworld, Vorath felt something he had never felt before when coming home. He felt reluctant. For the first time, the gray buildings and perfect streets did not look efficient and orderly. They looked empty, cold, lonely. He was taken directly to the High Council chamber. It was a large room with high ceilings and no windows. The walls were gray metal. The floor was gray stone. Everything was designed to be functional and nothing else. The High Council sat in a semicircle of raised seats. 12 elder Kelani, all with the same blue skin and black eyes as Vorath. His father, the Emperor, sat in the center. His face was unreadable, as it always was. "Prince Vorath," the Emperor said, "you have returned from Earth. We await your full assessment. Tell us about the humans. Are they a threat? Can they be conquered? What is your recommendation?" Vorath stood in the center of the chamber, facing the council. He had rehearsed this moment in his mind many times during the journey. He knew what he was supposed to say. He was supposed to give numbers and data. Military strength, population counts, resource availability. Cold facts for a cold decision. But when he opened his mouth, different words came out. The humans are weak by our standards, he began. Their bodies are fragile. Their technology is primitive. Their military could not stand against our fleet for more than a few days. By all logical measures, they would be easy to conquer. The council members nodded. This was what they expected to hear. However, Vorath continued, I recommend alliance, not conquest. Silence fell over the chamber. The Emperor's black eyes narrowed. Explain, he said. Vorath took a breath. He knew what he was about to say would sound strange to them, maybe even insane. But he had to try. The humans possess something we do not have, he said. Something we removed from ourselves thousands of years ago. They call it joy. Joy. One of the council members said, We know this word. It is an emotional state, a biochemical response. We eliminated such things because they interfered with logical thought. Yes, Vorath said. That is what I believed as well. But I was wrong. Joy is not just a biochemical response. It is something more. It is a connection between beings. It is the feeling of warmth when someone does something kind for you. It is the happiness you feel when you make someone else happy. It is the bond that forms between people who share time and experiences together. He paused, looking at each council member in turn. We have built a great empire, he continued. 12 star systems, billions of Kelani, perfect order and efficiency. But look at us. Look at this room. Look at our cities and our lives. There is no warmth here, no connection. We work. We rest. We work again. We do not laugh. We do not cry. We do not love. We exist, but we do not live. The Emperor's face was hard. You speak of weakness as if it were strength. No, Father. I speak of something we did not understand because we have never felt it. The humans are not weak because they feel emotions. They are strong because of them. Their joy binds them together. Their love makes them sacrifice for each other. Their hope drives them to keep trying, even when things seem impossible. Vorath reached under his collar and pulled out the purple scarf. He held it up so the council could see it. A human woman made this for me, he said. She spent hours knitting it by hand, even though she had no time and gained nothing from it. She did it because she wanted me to feel warm. She did it because she cared about me, a stranger from another world who she had known for only 5 days. He wrapped the scarf back around his neck. No Kelani has ever done something like this for me. No Kelani has ever held my hand or told me stories or laughed at a game with me. We have given up these things in the name of efficiency. But what is the point of being efficient if there is nothing worth living for? The chamber was completely silent. The council members looked at each other, uncertain. They had never heard anyone speak like this before. The Emperor stood from his seat. He walked down from his platform and approached Vorath. They stood face to face, father and son, 2 tall blue figures in the gray room. You have changed, the Emperor said. I can see it in your eyes. Hear it in your voice. You are not the same person I sent to Earth. No, Vorath agreed. I am not. This joy you speak of, you have felt it? Vorath nodded. Yes, for the first time in my life, I have felt something real. Something that makes me want to wake up in the morning. Something that makes the universe seem less empty and cold. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. His black eyes studied Vorath's face. Then, slowly, he raised one hand and placed it on his son's shoulder dot. It was the first time the Emperor had touched Vorath in over 50 years. Perhaps, the Emperor said quietly, we've been wrong about some things. Perhaps efficiency is not the only measure of greatness. Perhaps there are things we have lost that are worth finding again. He turned to face the council. We will not conquer Earth, he announced. We will seek alliance. We will study the humans. We will learn from them as my son has learned. And perhaps, in time, we will remember what it means to feel joy. Vorath felt something warm spread through his chest. It was happiness. It was relief. It was pride. It was all of these things mixed together. It was joy. Later that night, Vorath stood on the balcony of his quarters, looking up at the stars. Earth was too far away to see, but he knew it was out there. A small blue planet full of strange, emotional, wonderful beings who had taught him the meaning of life. He touched the purple scarf around his neck. He thought of Yuna and her family, Yunji's warm hands, Jiwoo's laughter, Taiho carving a wooden horse for his daughter, the children singing at the concert, the strangers giving gifts to people they would never meet. He thought of snowflakes falling on upturned faces, of rice cakes and card games, of memories shared and stories told. And for the first time in the history of the Kalani Empire, a prince smiled. It was not a big smile, just a small curve of his lips. But it was real, and it was the beginning of something new, something that would change his world forever. Far across the galaxy, in a small apartment in Seoul, Yuna was also looking up at the stars. She held a small blue crystal in her hands, glowing softly with memories of an alien prince who had learned to feel. She did not know if she would ever see Vorath again, but she knew that something important had happened. A connection had been made. A bridge had been built between two worlds, and that was the real magic of Christmas. Not the presents or the decorations or the songs. It was the joy that came from opening your heart to others, from giving without expecting anything in return, from believing that even the coldest, most distant being in the universe could learn to love. Yuna smiled and whispered into the night, "Merry Christmas, Vorath." What is this joy humans keep talking about? Part 4. The Gifforeth did not sleep that night. The Kalani did not need much sleep, only a few hours every 3 or 4 days. But this time, his wakefulness was not because he did not need rest. It was because his mind would not stop thinking. He sat in his dark room, looking out at the city. Seoul was quiet now. Most humans were sleeping, preparing for the big day tomorrow. The streets were covered in fresh white snow, and the Christmas lights reflected off it like scattered stars on the ground. He kept thinking about the evening at Yuna's apartment. The warmth of the room, the taste of the rice cakes, the way Yunji had held his hand, the sound of Jiwoo's laughter when he won the card game, the stories about hard times and happy moments mixed together. On Kalani, everything was separate. Work was work. Rest was rest. There was no mixing, no blending. But humans seemed to live with everything at once. Joy and sadness. Hard work and play. Logic and emotion. Somehow, they held all of these things together without falling apart. Vorath did not understand how they did it, but he was beginning to think that maybe it was not a weakness. Maybe it was a kind of strength. When the first light of morning came through his window, Vorath heard a soft knock at his door. He opened it to find a small package on the ground. There was no one in the hallway. The package was wrapped in paper that was red and green, with a shiny golden ribbon on top. A small card was attached to it. Vorath picked up the package and read the card. The handwriting was neat and careful. "Dear Prince Vorath, Merry Christmas. This is a gift from me to you, so you remember us when you return to the stars. I hope it keeps you warm. Yuna, a gift." Vorath knew about human gift-giving from his research. During Christmas, humans exchanged presents with people they cared about. But he had not expected to receive one himself. He was a visitor, an observer, an alien from another world. Why would anyone give him a gift? He carried the package inside and sat down with it. For a long moment, he just looked at it. The wrapping was done with care. The ribbon was tied in a perfect bow. Someone had spent time making this look beautiful. Slowly, carefully, Vorath unwrapped the gift. The paper came apart easily. Inside was something soft and folded. He lifted it up and let it unfold. It was a scarf. Long and thick, made of yarn that had been knitted together by hand. The color was deep purple, the exact shade of the royal color of Kelani. Around the edges, there were small patterns in silver thread that looked like stars. Vorath held the scarf in his hands. It was not perfect. He could see small mistakes where the yarn was uneven. Some stitches were tighter than others. This was clearly not made by a machine. It was made by human hands. By Yuna's hands. He tried to calculate how long this would have taken. Yuna had been with him almost every day since his arrival. She had guided him through the city, answered his questions, introduced him to her colleagues and family. When did she have time to make this? Then he understood. She had made it at night. After spending all day with him, she had gone home and stayed awake, knitting this scarf. For him, a stranger from another world. Someone she had known for less than a week. Vorath brought the scarf closer to his face. It smelled faintly of something sweet and warm. Human smell. Yuna's smell. He wrapped it around his neck. It was soft against his blue skin. It was the warmest thing he had ever felt. And then, something happened that Vorath had never experienced before. His eyes began to leak. Small drops of water formed at the corners of his large black eyes and rolled down his cheeks. His medical systems immediately scanned him. There was nothing wrong. No injury, no illness, no malfunction. But the water kept coming. Vorath touched his wet cheek. He knew what this was. He had seen humans do it. It was called crying. But the Kelani did not cry. They had removed the ability thousands of years ago, along with all other emotional responses. And yet, here he was, crying. He did not understand. This should not be possible. His biology should not allow it. But the warm scarf around his neck and the wet tears on his face told him that something had changed. Something deep inside him that he had never known existed had woken up. He sat there for a long time, holding the scarf, letting the tears fall. He did not try to stop them. He did not want to. For the first time in his life, he was feeling something real. Something that could not be measured or calculated or explained. Later that morning, Yuna came to visit him. She was wearing a new sweater, bright green, with a picture of a reindeer on it. Her cheeks were pink from the cold, and she was smiling. "Merry Christmas, Prince Vorath," she said. Then she saw the scarf around his neck, and her smile grew even bigger. "You found my gift." "I did," Vorath said. His voice was different than usual, softer, less flat. "You made this." "Yes, I know it is not perfect. I'm not very good at knitting, but I wanted to give you something special, something made by hand." She looked a little embarrassed. "I researched your home world and found out that purple is your royal color. I thought you might like it." Vorath was quiet for a moment. He was trying to find words that could express what he was feeling, but human language seemed too small for it. Kelani language did not even have words for these things. "On my world," he said slowly, "we do not give gifts. We exchange resources when it benefits both parties. A transaction. Nothing more." Yuna nodded. "I understand. Your culture is very different." "This is not a transaction," Vorath continued. "You spent your time and energy creating something for me. You gained nothing from it. There is no benefit to you." "That is not true," Yuna said gently. "I gained something very valuable." "What?" "I got to see you wearing it. I got to see you smile." She paused. "Wow, I do not know if Kelani smile, but your face looks different, softer, happier. That makes me happy." Vorath touched the scarf again. You are saying that my happiness gives you happiness? Yes, that is what joy is, Prince Vorath. It is shared. When we make others happy, we become happy ourselves. Joy grows when it is given away. The more you share it, the more there is. Vorath processed this. It was the opposite of everything he had been taught. On Kelani, resources were limited. If you gave something away, you had less. But humans believed that some things actually increased when shared. Joy, love, happiness. These were not like food or energy. They worked by different rules. I have something for you as well, Vorath said suddenly. He did not know he was going to say this until the words came out. But now that they were spoken, he knew they were right. He reached into his uniform and pulled out a small object. It was a crystal, deep blue, about the size of a human thumb. It glowed faintly from within, like a tiny star. This is a memory crystal, Vorath explained. On Kelani, we do not have photographs or videos like you do. Instead, we record memories directly. This crystal contains my first memory of arriving on Earth, the cold air, the falling snow. You, standing there with your warm smile. The first human words ever spoken to me. Yuna took the crystal carefully. She looked at it with wonder in her eyes. This is amazing. How does it work? You hold it close to your heart and close your eyes. The memory will play in your mind as if you were living it yourself. Yuna held the crystal to her chest and closed her eyes. Vorath watched her face as she experienced his memory. He saw her smile. He saw a tear roll down her cheek. It is beautiful, she whispered. I can feel what you felt. The cold, the strangeness of a new world, but also curiosity, wonder, and something else. She opened her eyes and looked at him. You were not just observing us. You were hoping to find something here. Something you did not have at home. Vorath did not deny it. He could not. I did not know I was hoping, he said. I did not know I could hope. But I think you are right. I came here looking for something, and I think I have found it. What did you find? Vorath looked at the scarf around his neck, at the crystal in Yuna's hands, at the snow falling gently outside the window. He looked at this small human woman who had shown him more warmth in 5 days than he had felt in his entire life. I found joy, he said. And for the first time, the word did not seem strange or confusing. It seemed like the truest word he had ever spoken. I did not understand it before. I thought it was illogical, a waste of energy. But now I see. Joy is not a waste. Joy is the point. It is the reason to live. It is the thing that makes all the efficiency and logic meaningful. Yuna smiled through her tears. Merry Christmas, Vorath. Merry Christmas. Yuna, and standing there in that small room, with the purple scarf around his neck and the snow falling outside, Prince Vorath of the Kelani Empire finally understood what it meant to be human. No, not human. What it meant to be alive. What is this joy humans keep talking about? Part 3. The invitation December 24th arrived quickly. The humans called this day Christmas Eve. Vorath had learned that it was an important night, when families gathered together before the main celebration the next morning. His schedule for the day was empty. The government officials had told him to rest and enjoy the holiday in whatever way he wished. But Vorath did not know how to enjoy anything. The Kelani did not have holidays. They did not have rest days. Every day was for work, for study, for making the empire stronger. The idea of doing nothing productive for an entire day seemed wasteful. He stood at his window, looking out at the city. Seoul was quieter today. Most of the shops were closed. People were hurrying home to be with their families. The streets that had been so crowded before were now almost empty. Even the snow had stopped falling. Vorath felt that strange feeling again, the one he could not name. It was stronger today, like a hole in his chest that he did not know how to fill. A knock came at his door. It was Yuna. She was not wearing her usual work clothes. Instead, she wore a warm red sweater with white patterns on it. Her hair was down, falling over her shoulders. She looked different, softer. "Prince Vorath," she said, "I have a question for you. You may ask." Yuna took a breath. She seemed nervous, which was unusual for her. She was always calm and confident around him. "Tonight is Christmas Eve," she said. "My family always gathers at my apartment for dinner. My grandmother, my parents, my brother. We eat together, play games, and spend time together before sleeping. Then we wake up on Christmas morning and open gifts." She paused. "I want to invite you to join us." Vorath tilted his head. "This is not part of my official schedule. It is not required for diplomatic purposes." "No, it is not required," Yuna agreed. "I am not inviting you as a diplomat or as an alien prince. I am inviting you as a friend, because no one should be alone on Christmas Eve." Friend. The word stuck in Vorath's mind. On Kelani, there were no friends. There were colleagues, superiors, subordinates. There were people who served useful purposes. But friends? People you spend time with for no logical reason? This did not exist. "I do not wish to disturb your family gathering," Vorath said. Yuna smiled. "You will not disturb anything. My grandmother has been asking about you every day. She wants to meet the alien from the sky. And my little brother Jiwoo thinks you are the coolest person on the planet." "Coolest?" "It means he thinks you are impressive and interesting." Vorath considered this. He had no other plans. And despite his logical mind telling him this was unnecessary, something else was telling him to accept. That strange feeling in his chest. The one that felt like emptiness. Maybe being around humans would help him understand it better. "I will accept your invitation," he said. Yuna's face lit up with that brightening expression Vorath had noticed before. "Wonderful. I will come back in 1 hour to take you there. Dress warmly. My apartment is small, but it is full of love." Full of love. Another phrase that made no logical sense. How could a space be full of something you could not see or touch? 1 hour later, they took a car to a different part of the city. Yuna's apartment building was old and not very tall. The hallway was narrow, and Vorath had to bend slightly to fit through the doorway. But when the door opened, everything changed. The apartment was warm, not just in temperature, but in feeling. There were lights everywhere, soft golden lights that made everything glow. A small tree stood in the corner, decorated with shiny balls and stars. The smell of food filled the air, rich and delicious. And there were people. So many people in such a small space that an old woman came forward first. She was very short, barely reaching Vorath's chest. Her face was full of wrinkles, but her eyes were bright and alive. This was Yunji, Yuna's grandmother. She looked up at Vorath and smiled widely. Then she did something unexpected. She reached up and took his hand. Her hand was small and warm. "Welcome, welcome," she said. Her voice was gentle and kind. "You must be cold. Come, sit by the heater. I made rice cakes. You must try them." Before Vorath could respond, she was pulling him toward a low table covered with food. There were rice cakes, dumplings, noodles, meat dishes, and things Vorath could not identify. Yunji pressed a plate into his clawed hands and began putting food on it. "Grandmother, let him breathe," Yuna laughed. "He just got here." "Nonsense," Yunji said. "A guest must eat, especially a guest who has traveled so far. 12 star systems, Yuna tells me. That is a long journey. You must be hungry." Vorath looked at the plate of food. On Kelani, they consumed nutrition blocks. Efficient, balanced, without taste. This food was different. It had colors and textures and smells. He picked up a rice cake and bit into it. It was soft and sweet and chewy all at once. He had never tasted anything like it. You like it? Yunji asked eagerly. It is pleasant, Vorath said. This was an understatement. The rice cake was one of the most interesting things he had experienced on Earth. Yunji clapped her hands together, delighted. Good. Eat more. Eat as much as you want. A young man came over next. He was in his early 20s, with messy hair and a big grin on his face. This was Jiwoo, Yuna's younger brother. So you are the alien prince, Jiwoo said. He looked at Vorath with wide eyes. This is so amazing. I have so many questions. Can your ship go faster than light? Do you have weapons that can destroy planets? Have you met other alien species? Jiwoo, Yuna said warningly. Do not overwhelm him. It is acceptable, Vorath said. He found Jiwoo's enthusiasm strange, but not unpleasant. Yes, our ships can travel faster than light. Yes, we have powerful weapons, though we do not use them without good reason. And yes, we have encountered many other species. Jiwoo's eyes grew even wider. That is so cool. Can I see your ship someday? Perhaps. Yuna's parents introduced themselves next. Her father was a quiet man named Hyunwoo, who nodded respectfully. Her mother, Minji, had the same warm smile as Yuna. She thanked Vorath for coming and made sure his plate was always full. The evening passed in a blur of food, conversation, and strange human activities. After dinner, Jiwoo challenged Vorath to play a card game. The rules were simple, but Vorath kept losing. This was illogical. He had superior intelligence and processing power. But the game seemed to involve something called luck, which Vorath could not control. Each time Vorath lost, Jiwoo laughed loudly and did a small dance of victory. And strangely, Vorath did not mind losing. Watching Jiwoo's joy at winning was interesting, perhaps even pleasant. Later, Yunji told stories about her childhood. She talked about difficult times when food was scarce and life was hard. But she also talked about moments of happiness. Sharing a meal with family, seeing the first snow of winter, holding her children for the first time. Life is not about avoiding pain, Yunji said, looking at Vorath with her wise old eyes. Life is about finding joy in the middle of the pain. That is what makes humans strong. Vorath listened carefully. On Kelani, they avoided pain by removing emotion entirely. But perhaps this had also removed something else. Something valuable. As the night grew late, the family began to yawn and stretch. They talked about sleeping soon so they could wake up early for Christmas morning. Vorath watched them say goodnight to each other. Hugging, kissing cheeks, saying words of love. Yuna walked him to the door. The apartment was quieter now, but still warm. Still full of that thing Vorath could not name. Thank you for coming, Yuna said. I hope it was not too overwhelming. Vorath was quiet for a moment. He was trying to find the right words. For the first time in his life, language felt insufficient. Your grandmother, he said finally. She touched my hand when I arrived. Why? Yuna smiled softly. It is how she shows love. Physical touch. Holding hands, hugging. These things make humans feel connected. They remind us that we are not alone. Vorath looked at his hand. He could still feel the warmth of Yunji's small fingers. On Kelani, we do not touch, he said. Touch is unnecessary, inefficient. Maybe that is true, Yuna said. But is efficiency really worth being alone? The question stayed with Vorath as he walked back out into the cold night. The snow had started falling again. The streets were empty and quiet. But inside his chest, that strange feeling had changed. It was no longer empty. It was full of something new. Something warm. He did not know what to call it yet. But he thought that maybe, just maybe, he was beginning to understand. What is this joy humans keep talking about? Part 2. The confusion. The next 3 days were strange for Prince Vorath. He stayed in a special guest building near the center of Seoul. The room was large and comfortable by human standards, with soft furniture and big windows that looked out over the city. Every morning, Yuna came to guide him through different activities. She showed him museums, government buildings, and research centers. But Vorath found himself most interested in the ordinary things. The things humans did when they were not trying to impress him. On the second day, Yuna took him to meet some of her colleagues at the Cultural Exchange Office. The building was not special. It was just a normal office with desks and computers and people doing their work. But one man caught Vorath's attention. His name was Taiho. He was thin and quiet, with glasses that sat on his nose and hair that was slightly messy. While others were busy preparing documents for Vorath's visit, Taiho sat at his desk working on something different. He had small pieces of wood in front of him. He was cutting them carefully with a tiny knife and putting them together. Vorath walked over to him. Taiho looked up, surprised to see the tall alien prince standing beside his desk. "What are you creating?" Vorath asked. Taiho held up the object. It was a small wooden horse, not yet finished. The legs were still rough, and the head needed more detail. But Vorath could see what it would become. "It is a toy," Taiho said. "For my daughter. Her name is Soman. She is 6 years old. She loves horses." Vorath examined the toy. The work was not perfect. A Kelani machine could produce a much better horse in seconds. The wood had small mistakes. The cuts were not completely straight. "There are factories that produce such items," Vorath said. "They would be more precise, more efficient. Why do you spend your time making one by hand?" Taiho smiled softly. It was a different kind of smile than Yuna's. Quieter, more private. "She will not remember the toy when she grows up," Taiho said. "Children forget their toys. But she will remember that her father made it for her. She will remember sitting next to me while I worked on it. She will remember the time we spent together. That memory will stay with her forever." Vorath processed this. It did not compute. The result was the same either way. The child would have a toy horse. But Taiho believed that the process of making it added some kind of extra value. Value that could not be measured or seen. He recorded this in his datapad. Humans assign importance to inefficiency. They believe that time and effort add meaning to objects. "This is illogical," Vorath said out loud. Taiho did not seem offended. He just kept carving the wood. "Maybe," he said. "But logic is not everything. Love is not logical. Joy is not logical. But they make life worth living." There was that word again. Joy. Vorath was hearing it everywhere. Later that day, Yuna took him for a walk through the city streets. The weather was cold, and small white flakes were falling from the sky. Vorath knew this was snow. Frozen water. It served no purpose except to make travel difficult. But the humans seemed happy about it. Children ran through the streets, trying to catch snowflakes on their tongues. Adults tilted their heads back and smiled as the white flakes landed on their faces. An old man was building a figure out of snow in the park. It had a round body, a round head, and stones for eyes. "Why does that man build a figure that will melt?" Vorath asked. "It is a snowman," Yuna explained. "People make them for fun, especially children. It is a tradition during winter. But it has no permanent value. It will be gone in days." Yuna laughed. It was a soft, pleasant sound, Not everything needs to last forever to have value. The joy is in the making of it. The joy is in the moment. Vorath did not understand. On Kalani, everything was built to last. Everything was designed for maximum efficiency and permanence. To create something temporary seemed like a waste of resources and time. They continued walking until they reached a busy shopping area. The streets were crowded with people carrying bags full of wrapped packages. The shops were decorated with lights and fake snow, and that fat man in red again. Music played from speakers, songs about snow and bells, and someone named Rudolph. Vorath noticed a line of people outside a large building. They were waiting in the cold, but they did not seem upset. Many were smiling and talking to each other. "What are they waiting for?" he asked. "That is a charity center," Una said. "People are donating food and clothes and toys for families who do not have much money. During Christmas time, many humans give things to strangers who need help." This confused Vorath greatly. They give resources to people they do not know? People who cannot give anything back. Yes. What do they gain from this? Una thought about the question. "They gain joy," she said simply. "Helping others makes humans feel good. When we see someone else happy because of something we did, it makes us happy too." Vorath watched the people in line. They were carrying bags of food, boxes of toys, warm coats, and blankets. They were giving away things that had value, things they had worked to buy. And they were smiling while doing it. He did not understand. That night, Una invited Vorath to watch something called a Christmas concert. It was held in a large building with many seats. Hundreds of humans sat together. On the stage, a group of children stood in rows. They were all wearing matching clothes, red and white. The children began to sing. The song was about peace on earth and goodwill to all people. Their voices were high and clear. They were not perfect. Some children sang too loudly. Others forgot words. But the audience did not seem to care. Many adults were crying. Not from sadness, Una explained, but from something called being moved. Moved to what? Vorath asked. Moved to feel, Una said. The music touches something inside us. It reminds us of good memories, of people we love, of hope for the future. Vorath looked around the room. Humans were holding hands. Some had their eyes closed. Others were swaying gently to the music. They were all experiencing something together, something he could not feel. For the first time in his life, Prince Vorath of the Kalani Empire felt something unusual. It was not joy. He did not know what joy was, but it was something. A small emptiness, a tiny feeling of being outside, looking in. Like standing at a window and watching others enjoy warmth while he stood in the cold. He did not like this feeling. It was inefficient. It served no purpose, but he could not make it go away. After the concert, as they walked back to the guest building through the snowy streets, Una looked at him. "You seem quiet," she said. "More quiet than usual." "I am processing," Vorath replied. "Your species is very confusing. You do things that make no logical sense. You create things that will not last. You give away your resources. You cry at children singing. Everything about you is inefficient." Una did not argue. She just nodded. "Maybe efficiency is not the point of life," she said softly. "Maybe the point is to feel things, to connect with others, to experience moments that make our hearts full, even if those moments do not last." Vorath wanted to argue. He wanted to explain why the Kalani way was better, why logic and order and efficiency had built an empire that stretched across 12 star systems, but the words did not come. Instead, he just looked at the snow falling gently under the streetlights. He watched the humans walking together, laughing and talking. He saw a father carrying his sleeping child. He saw two old people holding hands, and that small, strange feeling in his chest grew just a little bit bigger. What is this joy humans keep talking about? Part 1. The arrival of the ship came down from the sky on a cold winter morning. It was not like the spaceships in human movies. There were no bright lights or loud sounds. The vessel was dark gray, shaped like a long triangle, and it landed softly on the ground like a leaf falling from a tree. The place was a special landing area outside Seoul, South Korea. Many government people and soldiers stood waiting. They were nervous. This was the first official alien visit to Earth. The door of the ship opened slowly. White smoke came out first, then a figure stepped forward. Prince Vorath of the Kalani Empire stood tall at nearly 7 feet. His skin was pale blue, like the color of ice. His eyes were large and completely black, with no white parts at all. He had no hair on his head, but there were small ridges that went from his forehead to the back of his skull. His hands had 4 fingers, each one longer than a human finger. He wore a black uniform with silver symbols on the chest. Vorath looked at the humans. He felt nothing. His species, the Kalani, did not feel emotions the way other beings did. They had removed such weaknesses from their biology thousands of years ago. Emotions made people do stupid things. Emotions caused wars and pain and bad decisions. The Kalani believed that pure logic was the only path to a great civilization. And they had built a great civilization indeed. 12 star systems belonged to them now. Hundreds of planets. Billions of Kalani lived in perfect order and efficiency. Earth was the 13th system they were studying. The humans had only recently discovered how to send signals into space. They were primitive in many ways. But the Kalani High Council wanted to understand them before making any decisions about conquest or alliance. Young woman walked toward Vorath. She was short compared to him, with black hair tied back in a simple style. She wore a warm coat because the December air was very cold. Her name was Yuna, and she was a translator and cultural guide assigned to help the alien prince during his visit. "Welcome to Earth, Prince Vorath," Yuna said. She bowed her head slightly, a sign of respect in Korean culture. Then she smiled. It was a big, warm smile that showed her teeth. Vorath tilted his head. His translator device, a small chip inside his ear, converted her words perfectly. But her smile confused him. Why did she pull her lips back and show her teeth? On many planets, showing teeth was a sign of aggression. But his briefing file said that humans did this when they were happy or being friendly. "I acknowledge your greeting," Vorath said. His voice was flat and deep. "You are my assigned guide?" "Yes, I am," Yuna replied. She was still smiling. "I hope we can make your stay comfortable. Please follow me. We have a vehicle waiting." They walked toward a large black car. Vorath noticed that many humans were looking at him. Some had their mouths open. Others were pointing at him. A few held up small rectangular devices. His files told him these were phones, used for communication and capturing images. The humans seemed excited. Some of them were bouncing on their feet despite the cold. "Why do they move in such a way?" Vorath asked as he got into the car. Yuna sat beside him. The driver, a quiet man named Doan, started the engine. "They are excited to see you," Yuna explained. "You are the first alien to visit our planet officially. People have dreamed about this moment for many years." "Excitement," Vorath repeated. He knew the word. It was an emotion, a chemical reaction in the brain that made humans feel energized and happy. The Kalani had no such thing. This emotion serves what purpose? Yuna thought for a moment. "It makes us feel alive," she said. "When something new and wonderful happens, we feel excited. It gives us energy. It makes us want to experience more." Vorath processed this information. It seemed inefficient. Why waste energy on feelings when that energy could be used for work or study? But he did not say this out loud. He was here to observe, not to judge. At least, not yet. The car drove through the streets of Seoul. Vorath looked out the window. The city was very different from Kelani cities. On his homeworld, all buildings were the same gray color. They were all the same height. Everything was organized in perfect squares and lines. But Seoul was chaotic. Buildings of different sizes and colors stood next to each other. Signs with bright lights flashed everywhere. People walked in all directions, not in straight lines, and there were decorations. So many decorations. Vorath saw trees wrapped in small lights. He saw large figures of a fat man in red clothing standing outside shops. He saw stars and bells and strange animals with horns hanging from strings across the streets. Windows were painted with white patterns that looked like frozen water crystals. What is the meaning of these displays? Vorath asked. Yuna's face brightened. That was another human expression Vorath did not fully understand. Her eyes seemed to get bigger, and her smile grew wider. Christmas is coming, she said. It is on December 25th. That is 5 days from now. Christmas, Vorath repeated. The word did not translate well into his language. Explain this. It is a holiday, Yuna said. A special day when people celebrate. Originally, it was a religious day for some humans, celebrating the birth of an important figure. But now, many people celebrate it, even if they are not religious. It is a time for family, for giving gifts, for being kind to others, and for feeling joy. There was that word again. Joy. Vorath had seen it many times in his research. Files about Earth. Humans seemed to talk about it constantly. They wrote songs about it. They made art about it. They wished it upon each other. But Vorath could not understand what it truly meant. Joy, he said. Define this term precisely. Yuna was quiet for a moment. She looked out the window at the decorated streets, then back at Vorath. Joy is a feeling, she said slowly. It is deeper than happiness. Happiness can come and go quickly, but joy is something that fills your whole being. It is the feeling you get when you are with people you love, when you give something to someone and see them smile, when you feel connected to the world around you. It is hard to explain with just words. Vorath frowned. This was not a satisfactory answer. How could something so important to humans be so difficult to define? On Kelani, every concept had a clear definition. Every word had an exact meaning. This vagueness was frustrating. I will study this further, he said. Yuna nodded. Maybe you will understand by the time Christmas arrives. It is easier to feel joy than to explain it. Vorath doubted this very much. He was Kelani. He did not feel things. But he had 5 days on this planet, and he was a thorough observer. He would learn what this joy was, even if it made no logical sense. The car continued through the bright, chaotic, strangely beautiful streets of Seoul. And somewhere deep in Vorath's chest, in a place he did not know existed, something very small began to stir.